Mark chapter 6, 13 to chapter 6, 33. And they cast out many demons.
And they cast out many demons.
And anointed with oil many who were sick and healed them. King Herod heard of it, for Jesus' name had become known. Some said, John the Baptist has been raised from the dead. That is why these miraculous powers are at work in him. But others said, he is Elijah. And others said, he is a prophet, like one of the prophets of old. But when Herod heard of it, he said, John, whom I beheaded, has been raised. For it was Herod who had sent and seized John and bound him in prison for the sake of Herodias, his brother Philip's wife, because he had married her. For John had been saying to Herod, it is not lawful for you to have your brother's wife. And Herodias had a grudge against him and wanted to put him to death. But she could not. For Herod feared John, knowing that he was a righteous and holy man, and he kept him safe. When he heard him, he was greatly perplexed, and yet he heard him gladly. But an opportunity came when Herod, on his birthday, gave a banquet for his nobles and military commanders and the leading men of Galilee. For when Herodias' daughter came in and danced, she pleased Herod and his guests. And the king said to the girl, ask me for whatever you wish, and I will give it to you. And he vowed to her, whatever you ask me, I will give you, up to half of my kingdom. And she went out and said to her mother, for what should I ask? And she said, the head of John the Baptist. And she came in immediately with a haste to the king
with their hands to the king
and asked,
and asked,
saying,
saying,
I want you
I want you
to give me
to give me
at once
at once
the head of John
the head of John
the Baptist
the Baptist
on a platter.
on a platter.
And the king was
And the king was
exceedingly sorry,
exceedingly sorry,
but
but
because of his oaths
because of his words
and
and
his guests,
his guests,
he did not want to break
he did not want to break
his word to her.
his word to her.
And immediately
And immediately
the king sent
the king sent
an
an
executioner
executioner
with orders
with orders
to bring
to bring
John's head.
John's head.
He went
He went
and beheaded
and beheaded
him
him
in the prison
in the prison
and brought his head
and brought his head
on a platter
on a platter
and gave it to
and gave it to
the girl,
the girl,
and the girl gave it to
and the girl gave it to his
her mother.
her mother.
When his disciples heard of it,
When his disciples heard of it,
they came
they came
and took his body
and took his body
and laid it in a tomb.
and laid it in a tomb.
The apostles
The apostle
returned to Jesus
returned to Jesus
and told him
and told him
all that
all that
they had done
they had done
and taught.
and thought.
And he said to them,
And he said to them,
Come away
Come away
by yourselves
by yourself
to a desolate place
to a desolate place
and rest a while.
and rest away.
For many were coming
For many were coming
and going,
and going,
and they had no leisure
and they had no leisure
even to eat.
even to eat.
And they went away
And they went away
in the boat
in the boat
to a desolate place
to a desolate place
by themselves.
by themselves.
Now
Now
many saw them
many saw them
going
going
and recognized them,
and recognized them,
and they ran there
and they ran there
on foot
on foot
from all the towns
from all the town
and got there
and got there
ahead of them.
ahead of them.